Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I hope all is well. I have in front of me two masks that I made two samples of. I just wanted to see how it came out as far as what I wanted, and I think it came out pretty well, and I just want to share how I made this with you. What I'm going to do is just to try this one on so you can see how it fits and the design of it. Alright guys, this is the mask that I wanted to show you guys. There's a elastic going across the ears, and this bit that I sew across here is a flap I have over this hole where you can use to drink. I have my straw here, and all you do is just put it in the hole here and you take your drink. When you finish, you pull your mask down. Remember to wash your hands. Alright, so what I'm going to do is go to the cutting board, and I'm going to show you how I do this. Alright guys, I have everything in front of me that I'm going to use to make this. Alright, this mask. So this is the fabric. This is the same type of fabric that I'm going to use, just like this one. It has a slight stretch, and it stretches both ways slightly, which is really good. Alright, but this is the right side, but I like this side, so I'm going to use this side as I'm making this mask for myself. So these pieces are for the front and the back of the mask, and these pieces are for the flap over. So what I'm going to do with these, just how you see this piece going across here, all I'm going to do is cut this off right here. I'm going to use the pattern, and I'll just bring the pattern down as low as this point. And if you notice, I left about 1/4 of an inch above just for seam allowance. Alright, so after you finish cutting out your front flap, make sure all the seams are the same length, and just grade off about 1/2 inch right across, just up to about here. So in this I also have interfacing. I'm gonna use this piece of interfacing and cut 2 pieces for this mask. Right, so what I did, I just went ahead and pressed the interfacing onto the 2 pieces for the front of the mask, and this is what it is. Alright, so that is done. Okay, so I'm going to go to the machine, and I'm going to show you how I put this all together. Alright, so in this video I'm going to just show you the different things I'm going to use in my mask. This is 2 inches of pipe cleaner, and when I cut this, I just take a pliers. And I just curve the sides in and just squeeze them together, and that is just to prevent the sharp edges from coming through the mask. And I also cut two 6 inches of elastic for my ears. Alright, so the first step is to make my darts in the mask and also the flap. So to make your darts, just right in the side here, I just fold all the pieces like this, and you come in about 1/4 of an inch up to about 2 inches and make a dart on all the pieces. From the ironing board, I went ahead and pressed all my seams down, all my darts down. So next I'm going to join them together. I'm just going to put each pieces, 2 pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch all of them around to join them together just like this. So I'm going to stitch the 4 pieces like this, these 2 and these 2, then these 2 and these 2. Join all my pieces. So now I'm going to give my top stitch. So I'm going to open all the seams, you can press this if you like, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. Alright, so next step is to give this a top stitch on this side and another top stitch on that side. And you do that on all of the pieces. Make sure and open your seams. So I'm going to be working on the flap first. You're going to take the 2 halves right side together. Make sure that your seams are matching, and you can pin that. You do the same thing at the bottom. Go ahead and pin all the way around. Once you finish pin, you just stitch from this end to that end and do the same thing on this side. So from the sides, you're just going to turn this inside out. Alright, but before you do, right in this dip here at the bottom, you're just going to give that a couple of notches. Alright, I went ahead and give this a nice press, and this is the flap for the front of your mask. Alright, so now I'm going to be working on the main mask. I'm going to put the elastics in on both sides. Alright, so now I'm finished putting the elastic on. I'm going to be putting the flap on. So you take the flap, and because they measure the same, that's alright. You take the flap and you put the flap end here right in between the elastic. Right, and once you do that, you pin. Yeah, and you can go ahead and give it a stitch right across here just to hold it down, and you do the same thing on the opposite side. Alright, so that's that done, the sides done. So because the measurement is exact, I didn't have to pin in the front here. Alright, but the only thing I'm gonna do now is pin down just pin it down so when I stitch across it holds. Alright, so that should be it. This is how it should look. And the next step I'm going to do, just to hold this bit down on top, I'm just going to give this a top stitch right along the top here. Alright, so this is the piece sewn down. Okay, so at this stage now, I'm going to get the other half and I'm going to pin them right sides together. Make sure your seams are matching. When you come to this end, make sure that your elastic is facing in between the two halves of fabric. And then underneath, this is the top that's going over your nose, so on this end you leave a space open, and then you go ahead and you stitch all the way around. From one notch you go all the way around, meet to the other notch. So after I finish doing that, then I'm gonna put my my pipe cleaner in. I just make sure I center it with the seam right here, and then for the stitch I'm gonna give this zigzag stitch right over the pipe cleaner, and that's so that you can hold it in. Alright, it's just basically a zigzag stitch. Alright, so I'm going to take the pins out of this mask now and turn it inside out. You just pull the elastics a little bit just to open the corners a bit. Alright, so then I'm going to take my needle and thread and just baste this around. Alright, the next step is to go ahead and stitch around the top after the basting. Alright, and then I'm going to give this a stitch and close up the bottom bit. Alright, this is the mask so far. The next step and final step is to put in the hardware. So I'm going to go over to the table and show you how I do that. Alright, so now I'm ready to put the hardware in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is basically measure from the top of this down to about 3 3/4. This is the length of where I want it, from my nose down to this pin. Yeah. And to find where your length is, all you need to do, measure from where your mask is going to be here or above your nose down to the split of your mouth. You can also go ahead and mark it. And I'm going to choose the one that is suitable for the size of the straws that I have. And that's the top and that's the bottom. Alright, but first what I'm going to do is pinch this. Just give this a nice pinch in the middle, not too wide. And as this material is a stretch material, I don't need to do it too wide. So you just pinch that just a tiny bit. Alright, and on the right side, I would take my gummet and I would just make sure and put the pieces that I nip and just stretch them over the gummet. So it basically goes over just like this. So that's the wrong side, and then this would be your right side. After you finish that, then you'll take this other end here and you put it over. Alright, so the mask is complete, and this is where you have your sippy hole. Alright, and this is the mask right here. The same design, just like this one. Yeah, and now you can pull the mask up. You have your drink. Once you're done, just pull that back over. Obviously you fix it, and without even taking off your mask, you can keep your mask on during a night out, having a drink with your friends. Alright, so hope this has helped. Make sure to like, share and subscribe. Maybe share the video if you like, and I'll see you in my next video.